Are you familiar with FBI Special Agents Kyle Seraphin?
I'm familiar with the name.
Is that yes?
I'm familiar with the name. Familiar with the name. Familiar with the name.
Let's bring in Kyle Seraphin. He's the FBI whistleblower who helped expose government censorship of our First Amendment rights.
Now, we only have this memo because a recently suspended FBI agent called Kyle Seraphin brought it to the public, and we're grateful that he did. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
He's the host of something that strangely is called the Kyle Seraphin Show.
Kyle Seraphin, I can't thank you enough for speaking out. I knew you guys were out there, and I knew it was just a matter of time, but you got a lot of guts putting your face and your name to this. You're doing a service on behalf of the American people, and from the bottom of my cracked and broken heart sometimes, thank you very much.
Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show. Today is Wednesday. It's a weird Wednesday indeed, and it is April the 10th. We're rolling live right now on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Make sure that you've hit the like button. Make sure you have subscribed to our channel. You're going to get information that apparently you're not going to get other places, which is to say we're going to get involved in something that is antithetical to the American way of life right now. Critical thinking. There's the link right there to Rumble. If you're watching us anywhere else, especially if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and click through there and join us on Rumble so you can join the live chat. There's two reasons I'm going to give you. Number one, you're actually supporting our channel and you can engage with the chat. Number two, my friend George Hill, an FBI whistleblower, a former member of the intelligence community and someone who knows a lot about the topic we're about to get into today, is going to be in the live chat. And you guys may, in fact, be able to get some additional questions answered. I want to show you the third reason, I guess, which is that every time we do something on YouTube, can you see that? There it is. This is a YouTube email. And what it says is that copyright content has been detected in your video, and therefore our default position is to demonetize everything you do. That was a 29-second clip of Ghostbusters, which was a joke, and obviously not the entirety of what yesterday's show was, which was over 60 minutes long. But that's what happens every single time. I want to give you guys a little bit of a sense of humor of something that is clearly what we would call fair use under copyright law. Fair use means that you're able to use it, and you're making commentary on it, and they're using it. It's not the original lure of the thing. Unlike what goes on with the Benny Johnson piece, like you guys saw the other day, actually there's a response to Benny Johnson's video that I did not download, but it's quite good. She just shows a bunch of clips of Benny Johnson putting 2 seconds in front of somebody else's work. That's not what we do here. We do commentary on things that actually matter. But I'm over on YouTube simply because, one, that's kind of where my wife is at, and she likes it. And two, some of you are there. How many of you right now? All four of you, because we are clearly depressed and we are squashed down there. But you guys should come on over and join us here. All right, so that's the pitch. Let's start off with a sponsor. We're going to get into a couple of really important topics today. Critical thinking. We're going to talk about Grindr journalism and the honeypot, which my buddies and I used to joke about when I worked at the FBI. We referred to it as the honey dick, which is what happens when a man goes and does the honeypot. I don't know what else you call it. We had a couple guys that offered to do that operation as a joke. And they told us that they would get operational if they put a jar of honey down and squatted over it and dipped their member into said jar of honey. Yeah, that's how silly this kind of stuff is. It's actually a real technique, usually female to male, but the honeypot being worked in reverse, or male to male, which is a very gross and weird thing to see. Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today, because a lot of people got pulled into it. Alex Jones got pulled into it. The post-millennial got pulled into it. Benny Johnson, unsurprisingly, who goes after everything, got pulled into it. You'll notice the sober voices did not get pulled into it. Why? Because they have critical thinking, and some of them, like my buddy Dan Bongino, also understand just a little bit about how the federal government works. We're going to break it down for you because I want to give you guys the tools. And if you were in the Central Texas area and you heard a bunch of thunder and lightning last night, that may have been the source of it, but it could have been the sound of my eyeballs rolling to the back of my head and smacking around back there and rolling and echoing cavernously across the state, because it blows my mind how serious people act unseriously when red meat is hung out in front of them and they attack it like flies on poop. They just go for it right away and they think this is the best thing. Listen, I told you yesterday, if somebody has all of your ideas and is giving you everything you want, that's the most important time to be skeptical and critical. All right, we're going to cover down on that. We're going to cover down on a guy who came out who used to work for NPR talking about propaganda. This is all in the same vein. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. Let's start off with a read from one of our sponsors. Things will get rough in this country. They say that we're only a couple of meals away, missed meals that is, from absolute panic and chaos. And anybody who's ever been without a meal for, let's say, 4-5 meals, you can start getting pretty crabby. Now do that in a city that has a few million people in it and things could get shady. Consider going to 4patriots.com/Kyle. Again, the number 4patriots.com/Kyle. There's a lot of ways to do food prep. You can just have a big bin of beans and a big bin of rice. But as someone who's eaten the same thing every day for a while in the Air Force, and eventually you start considering whether or not to gnaw on like a Doc Martin or a combat boot, having a little variety and flavor in your emergency food is a good idea. 4patriots.com/Kyle is a place that you guys can go and pick this thing up. When I was in the military, I used to actually just go and load up with grapefruit, yogurt, and Pop-Tarts because I couldn't stand eating turkey a la king for the 6th day in a row. Many of you will have the same experience if you ever get into this, God forbid. 4patriots.com/Kyle is the website you guys can go. Their food is packed and will last for up to 25 years, so it doesn't have to be an emergency that happens right now. You can also use it when you're camping, or if you're traveling and you're on the road, you want to throw it in your bag. You might want to keep a little go bag as you move around the country. It's a real thing. It's a real panic. You make bad decisions when you are calorie deficits. When you have calorie deficits. So make sure that you are preparing yourself for that sort of possibility. And it's coming, like everywhere. It's always possible in this country right now, especially in the next 25 years. All right, should we get launched off? We're going to do a whole show about stupid, a whole show about ridiculous. Let's start off with our friends over at Fox News talking about one of the stars of our show every single morning. I know she's one of your favorites. It is the venerable Sheila Jackson Lee, representative from the Houston area of Texas. And this is an article that says she's being mocked for saying that the moon is mostly made of gases. Now, many of us realize that the moon is actually mostly made of cheese. And so, of course, it couldn't be made of gases if it is, in fact, made of cheese. I think the fake Harry Carey, played by Will Ferrell, did it best. If the moon was made of cheese and you were near it, would you eat it? That's what I kept hearing when I saw this video clip. The Congresswoman is mostly disturbing because of a couple things. Number one, her educational background, which I'm going to share with you in just a second, as bragged upon by her own website as a Congresswoman. And number two, she was talking to high school students who, generally speaking, have access to the internet and are probably less retarded than whatever it was that she was saying. This is easily one of the dumbest things that any person has said in public, and we're going to go even talking about, my buddy George is saying that Hank Johnson is dumber. I'm not sure Hank Johnson's statement is dumber than this, because this woman sat on the science and technology boards. She was the one who actually was funding things like the National Science Foundation, and her educational opportunities were much higher. It lets us know a little bit about how diversity is not necessarily our strength. So she went on, she said some pretty wild things. She said, you heard the word full moon. You need to take an opportunity to come out and just see a full moon. It's a completely rounded circle. This sounds like the musings of a stoner, but like a really dumb stoner who also lives in the country, because she said things like, the sun is mighty hot. I don't know who wrote this. If she just went off and she should have had a speech in front of her and she just couldn't remember it, or it blew away in the wind, and so she went off the top of her head. Not a good choice. Let's just start with that. Let me play it for you, lest we get too far afield, because you can't do it better than the lady did it in her own words. Yes, this is the same lady who says, FBI agents, plural, Kyle Seraphin, me. You know, me. Multiple FBI agents. Here we go.
And sometimes you've heard the word full moon. And sometimes you need to take the opportunity just to come out and see a full moon is that complete rounded circle, which is made up mostly of gases. And that's why the question is why or how could we as humans live on the moon? Are the gases such that we could do that? The sun is a mighty powerful heat that is almost impossible to go near the sun. The moon is more manageable, and you will see in a moment, or not a moment, you'll see in a couple of years that NASA is going back to the moon.
The sun is a mighty powerful heat. It sounds like something I'd read out of like a Mark Twain. It's a mighty powerful heat. But also, that was a very dumb person. The sad thing is that she doesn't have an excuse for being dumb. Here's the bio coming off Sheila Jackson Lee's website about the Congresswoman. Yeah. The full bio on this lady states at the bottom, which I have highlighted for you, and it's probably too small to see, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science from Yale. Sheila Jackson Lee is 74 years old. She's my father's age. She was born in 1950. We were led to believe that the Ivies were actually doing things for the sake of merit at that point in time. I would suggest to you that Sheila Jackson Lee has either gotten dumber by being in Congress, which is possible, or the Ivies never lived up to the hype. Is that possible? I know in the 90s when my friend George, not George Hill, but another George who I went to school with, he went to Harvard on a full academic scholarship because he was Samoan and he played football. So there's that. I don't know if meritocracy ever was there, but this certainly punches some holes. It's a data point of one, but there are many others. This lady went to Yale and supposedly studied politics, sat for years on a committee that handled money and gave it out to scientific foundations and scientific research projects funded by the U.S. government. And she's quite concerned. Now, she did issue a retraction to her statement. She came back and answered all of her retractors, and she said that the lust for stupidity is very high in the GOP. Thank you for fulfilling our lust, I suppose, sweetheart. And then secondarily, she mentioned that what she meant to say was sun instead of moon. So if you could just switch the word sun instead of moon in all of that, sometimes you hear about the expression full sun. You need to come out and look at the full sun and just observe it as a perfect circle, right? Just switch sun and moon and you'll see that this works out fine. She also went to law school, by the way, y'all. She went to law school. She was one of the first to graduate with honors from Yale in her particular program, and then was a JD graduate from the University of Virginia. She went to University of Virginia Law School. Okay, so UVA, Ivy adjacent. As you well know, the sun is mighty hot, and maybe she was just out in it for too long. I've got a video that you will enjoy a little bit later of her struggling to put on those glasses that many of you wore for the eclipse, those eclipse glasses, which are just a piece of paper that you can bend and put over your ears, or you can just hold up. My 3-year-old struggled with it, so I understand that the struggle for this sort of thing is real, if you're 3. But my 6-year-old and my 5-year-old had no problem putting them on. And the old people in the crowd next to us had no problem putting them on. It turns out that if you are anywhere between the ages of, let's say, 4.5 and 1,000, putting on some paper sunglasses to watch the sun and the eclipse shouldn't be that difficult, but it was. And that's okay. We're fine with that. I want to talk about someone who also was vying for it. See, here's the reason. All of this comes from a bracket that was done by the Dan Bongino show, and I'm disappointed with you guys. I love my friend Jim Verdi, who was on the show the other day. Jim did this bracket. You guys are seeing it on the screen for those of you who are watching. And, so there's this handle. If you guys want to go find the bracket, you can see so. It's JJ Verdi. At JJ Verdi on Twitter and social media and so on. But here's the bracket. This is the Dan Bongino Show Dumbest Member of Congress tournament in a Final Four sort of March Madness style. And they gave it to AOC, and it was between Eric Swalwell and AOC. And I think that's very unfair. And maybe we just needed more evidence to come out, but it's out. And this is Jasmine Crockett. So she's also vying for stupidest member just in the state of Texas. Now she's younger and she's a little bit more articulate. I've got her bio as well. Here she is making some business solutions to the American problems of reparations. And if you don't know that these people make the laws that govern your life, you wouldn't realize how good it is that even though our speaker isn't doing anything of value, the fact that there's only like 150 bills that have made it through this Congress is a massive victory for the American people. My position was no one for speaker. Having an incompetent speaker that can't get any majority, that's also okay. It actually works out much better because otherwise you get this lady probably passing laws. And it's one of the dumbest things that you'll ever hear. By the way, this sounds really racist because she wants to help out black people by not having them pay taxes. But she says that, a lot of black people don't pay taxes anyway because they don't make any money. That sounds pretty racist for a lady who's got culturally appropriated hair extensions. Here we go.
Just this past week, I saw, I don't remember which celebrity, but it was actually a celebrity. And I was like, I don't know that that's not necessarily a bad idea, but I'd have to think through it a lot. One of the things that they propose is black folk not have to pay taxes for a certain amount of time, because then again, that puts money back in your pocket. But at the same time, it may not be as objectionable to some people about actually giving out dollars. But obviously then you start dealing with the different tax brackets and things like that. And that's one of the reasons that, you know, we argue the reparations make sense, because so many black folk, not only do you owe for the labor that was stolen and killed and all the other things, right? But the fact is, like, we end up being so far behind, right? And so it's like, how do you bring forth people? Exactly. And so it's like, if you do the no tax thing for people that are already, say, struggling and aren't really paying taxes in the first place, it doesn't really exactly.
They may want those checks like they got during COVID.
Exactly.
I'm cringing over here. Guys, let Jim know that he got it wrong. JJ Verdi. He's on Twitter. He's on True Social. This is the bracket. You can't tell me AOC is dumber than both these ladies. And I'm going to prove it to you right now. But this video that you're going to see right now is brought to you by our sponsor, Patriot Cooler, which I'm going to talk about very quickly. PatriotCoolers.com. They're based out of Houston, Texas. Yeah, very, very close to Sheila Jackson Lee. PatriotCoolers.com. The promo code there is Kyle, Kyle. It is probably pronounceable and it could be spelled by Sheila Jackson Lee. Not my last name. That's why we don't use Seraphin as the promo code. Go to PatriotCoolers.com. Pick out the sort of drinkware that you are going to get emblazoned with our logos. I talked to Marcus yesterday. We worked out the details. They're going to work on uploading it today. So sometime either the end of today or the beginning of tomorrow, you'll be able to get engravings of your own suspendables. We're not going to make a penny off it. It's going to go straight to our sponsors. They've been really good to us. That's what we negotiated out. It's like, look, you've been really good to us for over a year supporting this show. It's our thank you that if it's going to drive traffic to your website, we want to do it. You guys can get a 16-ounce mug like this, engraven with our badge, with the suspendables logos that have come up with, our truth bombs and so on. If you guys want to have your own suspendables mug or tumbler, your water cup, you're going to be walking around and hydrating. The summer's coming, so you might as well do that. And then they may even be able to do it on some of the bigger items too. They have a laser engraving facility. So check that out. Check out PatriotCoolers.com, and the promo code there is Kyle. Okay, I told you they're competing. You tell me that Jim didn't get this wrong. Here's a grown 74-year-old woman who spent, let's say, 7 decades where she should be able to do this skill, failing in front of a high school full of kids that she supposedly represents, Booker T. Washington High School in Houston. Kaboom. Okay, I'm giving you play-by-play here. So she's got the glasses. She has wrapped them around. She looks like Chronicles of Riddick, Vin Diesel, and it came loose. It didn't stay in her weird hair. So now it's over her nose, and she looks like the librarian from the Ghostbusters. She's not sure if you can look at it through your nose. She doesn't know where the sun is either. There's clouds, so in her defense, where is the sun? She's going to probably need an aide to come up and tell her where okay, now she's lost grip on one side. She's now covering her nose, and she's fogging up the windows of her own glasses. She's still got it on her upper lip. Okay, now we're back, and now we're holding our hand over our eyes, only one eye, and it's not even perfectly covered. She's just going to wander. She's going to do a Joe Biden. She's going to wander off. Sheila, you can't see with those glasses on, honey. Don't fall over that chair. Stay on the track here where it's safe. Okay. And she's wandering, and it's all down there. She's off the screen. She is gone. She's gone completely rogue. We lost Sheila Jackson. She may still be wandering around on that track with her eyes partially covered by the eclipse glasses. I'm just telling you, Jim, come on, buddy. We got to do better. And I told you, we would tell you about the Congresswoman. This is Jasmine Crockett. She comes from the Dallas area. And you'll notice that her bio says that she earned a Bachelor's of Arts in Business Administration from Rhodes College. And she got her JD from the University of Houston, neither of which are terrible. We seem like not just a geriocracy, but then we're also like a mediocrity. We are just getting the most mediocre, lukewarm, room temperature IQs into this space. She's really confused because she's actually representing people that don't pay taxes, but maybe we need to give them COVID checks. I despise these people. These are our rulers. These are the people that are running the show. All right. Okay, let's get into a little bit more of a serious topic. It's worth us doing. Did you guys know this? Because I know we've covered it before, but it's worth noting There's a website known as Grindr, and Grindr is a gay dating app. It's really more of a hookup app, as I understand it. It's kind of a joke among those of us who are straight, because it doesn't sound like a good name. Grindr has a lot of things that you could think about it going like, I'm not sure that I'd want to be associated with that. I wouldn't want to see it on my phone. It's probably an embarrassing thing to be able to expose, unless you're gay and you don't care, and that's just like what you're about. Now, I always say this, the craziness and the reason why there are so many sexual deviancies in the gay community, and feel free to fact check me. You guys can put it in the comments if you don't think so. Because you have male sex drive times 2. Okay? You have all the hormones and all of the instinct and drive towards getting weird, which men do. That's just the way that we're sort of built. Our minds go to places that, and then usually you have a gas pedal and a brake. Women are a little bit more sensible. They understand that some things are not a good idea, like maybe you shouldn't bone a dog, like we found out during the COVID and the monkeypox thing. As we went from COVID to monkeypox, what did we find out? The first case of a dog having a human-born sexually transmitted disease. And you're like, why was that? And they're like, well, we just co-sleep with the dog. We don't know how it happened. Don't you, though? Don't you? 2 gas pedals, no brake, equals weird stuff. And here is Grindr. Now, this is the scary thing about Grindr, what you're seeing on the screen. Grindr was sold by a Chinese ownership group after the United States raised national security concerns. This is a piece that came from, who is this company? TechCrunch, which is a tech sort of, they're talking about entertainment. They talk about startups and venture capital. They're all interested in what goes on online type businesses. This was from 2020. So this was the end of the Trump era. But what that tells you is that the Beijing-based Chinese conglomerate that bought this app had it for several years. Now, the one thing we do know about the Chinese, which I think I'm fair to talk about, is they're kind of like a Hoover vacuum. They just grab all the intel and they'll deal with it later. They don't have to be able to evaluate it in real time and try to do something. What they do is they store it because data and storage are cheap, particularly if you've just bought something. They owned it from 2016. When did they buy this thing, does it say? Originally acquired in 2016, and the company was called Beijing Kunlun. They paid $93 million for it. They sold it for $608 million. So they bought it as a pretty small startup. And suddenly then people who were on the committee for the foreign investments in the United States, one of the U.S. government national security panels, they went like, oh no, we have a lot of gay dudes that are either doing this stuff on the sly or that are potentially victims of that honeypot type scenario. Maybe we shouldn't let the Chinese Communist Party, our single biggest geopolitical foe, own access to all of the sexual habits of the gay men that are working in our federal government, including in our intelligence service, of which there are plenty. You guys have watched what James O'Keefe has done with this stuff, right? We did a whole joke about it where it's like, why is it always gay guys of late? And there's a reason, I think, that a lot of straight men, competitive, red-blooded males, have said, you know what? Our federal government is not the place where I'm going to serve. I'm not going to go into the military. I'm not going to go into the law enforcement field. I'm done with this. And so there was a time, a cutoff, when no longer men who cared about this country started going into it. And it probably happened sometime just after 2015, 2016. I think that maybe Garrett O'Boyle, we were kind of the last of that breed who came in out of that post 9/11 era that had that sense of service and went into it. And now you've got a lot of people that are out there that are willing to serve as the sort of deep state masters. They are willing to do the work of some of this sort of evil, partisan, one-sided targeting people. Okay. The problem is this is true. Grindr was in fact acquired by the Chinese. The Chinese actually have a capable intelligence service. We worked against them. I think they're probably most of the time are more capable because our laws do not favor going after Chinese intelligence services. And they've sort of realized if they come over to the United States, it's not going to work out real well for them. So they work through like cutouts and third parties and so on. And they mostly stay, the intelligence service actual employees, what we would think of as W-2 federal employees, the people that actually work for the Chinese government, they hang out in China. It's much safer there. Then they run different ops the same way that we do, which is why the CIA has groups like National Resource. National Resource recruits Americans that travel abroad. Chinese does the same thing. This is open source information. There's nothing wild about any of this. This is just the way that intelligence services work. The problem is that we always want to know, what is our intelligence service? What are these IC folks doing against us? And yesterday, a group called Sound Investigations broke a story. I'm going to use the air quotes around this. Air quotes, broke a story that they had on hidden camera, which I will play you in its entirety and we will break it down as we go, that they had evidence of a former FBI, initially they actually titled it FBI agent, but I counseled them not to even run this, and they ran it anyway. A former FBI employee and a CIA contracts officer going on record, or, on unexpected record, with a gay date, telling this potential suitor, this potential, bedfellow of his, who knows how they met, telling this guy, okay, the FBI had people undercover at January 6th, as many as 20. And then he also said that the CIA is targeting people like Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson, and everybody's head flipping exploded. This is the post-millennial talking about this story. They are breathlessly covering the story of this guy. You see him on screen, Gavin O'Blennis, nothing better than someone with an O and a word that rhymes with penis. Okay, former CIA, FBI CIA employee says approximately 20 undercovers in the crowd at January 6th boasts about taking away Alex Jones's money from Sound Investigations. An undercover video from Sound Investigations reveals former FBI employee and contracting CIA officer, this guy, doing this thing, saying that they went after Alex Jones for Sandy Hook. They wanted to take all of his money. He's speaking on behalf of the agency, apparently, in his mind. The new report was recorded on March 15th, 22nd, and 28th. This is 2 weeks old, folks. This just happened, and they rushed this thing. This is the problem with people dangling the red meat out that you want to believe. Let's just cover this because this is in the video. There, his LinkedIn. I don't know if it's available anymore. I'm going to tell you a few things about him for starters. Then we're going to go into the video, and then we'll come back to this. Okay, look at his education history. Rockbridge Senior High School, diploma, general studies, graduated 1997 to 2000. That guy is my age. I don't know if he's 41, 42, or 43. I don't think you could be 43. So he's probably 41 or 42 years old. He's my age. He graduated high school in the year 2000, same as me and same as my wife. All right. So that's what we know about him. He then went on and has a smattering of college credits. He went to Lincoln University. He went to some technical school for liberal arts, which is weird. I've never heard of a tech school doing that, but whatever. He went on and did some more liberal arts for another couple of years. This is 2000. He basically is in school off and on till 2005. Then he's back in again in 2013 to 16, then 16 to 18 to get a Bachelor of Science in MIS. So he went and actually got another degree, whatever the heck that was. So he got general studies, an MIS degree, and then he got an MBA. So in school, probably working MBA all the way through. Okay, so that's the guy. Let's do the video if we can. This is weird to watch. Okay, so we're going to put it on. I'm going to play it, then we're going to stop intermittently, and I'm going to come back to it. Okay, so here we go. Let's start with this undercover video and what they're showing.
You can kind of put anyone in jail if you know what to do.
How?
You set them up.
Does the Bureau practice entrapment a lot?
And we get really close. We call it a nudge.
A nudge?
A nudge. Sometimes you just got to give them a quick little, just to see what happens. Sometimes you light the fuse and just wait for it to follow. Nothing like putting out a fake social media thing to like really get people mad.
Alex Jones.
Yeah, so we were after him.
You are?
We did what we wanted.
Which was what?
We took his money away, chopped his legs off.
Gavin O'Blennis is a contracting officer at the CIA. O'Blennis worked for the FBI in 2021 and 2022 in the San Diego office, moved on to Homeland Security where he conducted asylum interviews at the southern border, and now works for the CIA managing multi-million-dollar contracts across government agencies and private sector vendors.
I work for...
All right. Guys, here we go. He worked for the CIA as a contracting officer. He worked for the FBI as what he called an operations technician. That's not a job at the FBI as far as I'm aware. And if it is, it's some variety of what I have on the screen right now. Now, the job is actually known as the operational support technician. I'm looking above me because I've got all this stuff on me, on my screen above me. The operational support technician is a GS 5, 6, 7, and 8. When I entered the FBI, I was a GS 10. When I left, I was a GS 13. The first line supervisors are GS 14s. The people who have any power are GS 15s or above. The FBI is very top heavy when it comes to the general scale on how people get paid. A GS 5 through a GS 8 is an entry level secretarial job. And although the word technician is used, the right term is secretary. They used to be called routers, I think, or something to that effect. They were people that literally would be, and I mean literally would be handed a cassette tape that the agents would record their 302s and their notes. They would take that tape out and give it to one of these routers who would sit there and type up and transcribe what was done. Then that router would give it to the FBI agent. The agent would look at it, would make corrections on it with a red pen or a pencil, hand it back to the secretary. The secretary would then correct it and then put it back in front of the agent. The agent would agree, and it would go in. Administrative assistant was the 80s version of trying to make a secretary sound like something more. Executive assistant was another version of this. Operational support technician is an attempt to church up a bullshit low-level entry-level job. And you'll see a GS5 makes $33,878 at entry level with no other experience. You can make more. Here's the other thing. They all get a top secret SCI clearance. So you can make all kinds of claims about what's going on. But having a top secret clearance in the FBI, every single person who works for the FBI gets a top secret clearance. Even the janitors do, unless they are being escorted by some sort of like escort company. The actual paid janitors that are FBI employees have to have a top secret clearance because they walk and they empty the trash because the FBI agents don't empty their own trash, which I always found very offensive. It was really weird. Like, as a guy who's kind of a blue collar instinct or a no collar instinct like I am, you would see these people walking around with a trash bin, and they would walk and they would pick up your trash and they would throw it away, or they would vacuum every single day underneath your desk. And it's like, dude, I could do that. What are we doing? Like, how hard would it be for me to clean my own desk space? But the cleaning crew comes in, and usually during the day, so they don't pay night. This is what's going on. On the other side of this, what you see is from CIA.gov. This is CIA careers. This is the job requirements for the contracts officer, which is the one that's not listed on his LinkedIn. The contracts officer must be at least 18 years old. Do you know what we know about people who must be at least 18 years old? They generally have very little life experience. Okay? They must be willing to move to Washington, D.C., able to complete security and medical evaluations. They must be registered for selective service. These are the lowest things. And they can be a U.S. citizen, also a dual citizen. As a contracts officer with the CIA, you'll be part of a highly motivated team that provides critical support to U.S. national security, working alongside agency and other intelligence community colleagues. Wow. Does that sound very exciting to you? You're hired at various experience levels, from entry level to full performance positions. You'll work for progressively more on-the-job experience and relating trainings and developmental programs. They're going to take care of you if you get into the government family, like every government job. You are the only person who's legally authorized to financially obligate the U.S. government to acquire products and services. You'll notice that products and services don't talk about running operations. These are the people that sign the contracts for buying software, that make real estate contracts, that buy all the chairs and decide whether or not we are able to go out there and get, let's say, a holster that we want. Contracts officers work these out. They sketch out the things, they have the requirements which are given by somebody else, and then they negotiate so that the thing that is being bought is the thing that is expected to be bought by the people who actually use the thing. They have no further, involvement in this. There are many people who have higher level visibility because they have the government card, they have the power of the purse, and they actually may have a little bit of visibility. It takes a long time to get into those positions. But being an officer doesn't mean that you are offering like a police officer where you are actually executing the authorities of the federal government. The officer status is that they are able to execute the credit card, the government P card, purchase card. Okay, let's go back to the video. We'll watch a little more of it, and I'm just gonna hit this. Here we go. He's gonna make some claims. None of them are going to have specifics. Tune into this. This is a very low-level working person.
I work like this without, I'm not supposed to tell people kind of job. If I say intelligence, what do you think?
CIA?
Yep.
Oh, you work for the CIA?
I do.
That's incredible.
I'm a contracting officer.
That's amazing.
So I deal a lot with like different agencies. We're contracting with like Director of National Intelligence to do stuff. We do Navy, Army, any of them really. I used to work for the FBI, so they threw the FBI at me. They're like, here, you used to work there. Oh, I'm permanent. I'm safe. Yeah.
Good. Well, why do they call it contracting?
Because I do the contracting for them. I do all the legal contracts. I fly out to vendors and evaluate them. I love the agency.
Good for you.
I like the Bureau, too. The Bureau was a lot of fun. I got to do a lot of cool stuff with the Bureau. I was the guy in the back of the truck in the van.
O'Blennis spoke to an undercover Sound Investigations reporter about his work experience involving near entrapment.
All right. He was the guy in the back of the van? No, he was not. An operations technician is not the guy in the back of the van. Operational support technician is a person that sits at the desk that I bring 9 inches worth of national security letters or subpoena results that came from somebody's bank account. And I say, hey, on the top of that 9 inches of paper is a Post-it note, and it's got a file number on there. Can you please scan these all to the LSHR? Can you scan these all to the financial records? Can you scan these all to the NSL subfile? Thank you. If you have any problems, let me know. Go put our evidence into the file. The OST is a phone answering, please go down and get us enough pens and put them in the conference room because we're about to have a meeting in there. Okay? That's what this person does. How did he write it? He wrote this up on his resume, which you guys are seeing on there. And he worked there for 1 year and 2 months. You know, he was a really experienced FBI person for 1 year and 2 months. What you'll also notice on all of these things that he worked basically for like 14 to 16 months at all these different jobs. Look, I'm a guy who's jumped around to a lot of jobs. I don't have any beef with somebody who does that. I don't think that makes them less of a human being. Maybe you didn't find your fit. Maybe it wasn't for you. But this is a guy who's bragging about this on a date, telling people that his job was to collect, compile, and distribute operational information to team members that aligned interagency efforts during investigations and special operations. What? These things that's not even a real job description anywhere at the FBI. Oversee the rollout of emergency response plans designed to quickly assess the severity of potential crises and de-escalate harmful situations, mitigate threats that jeopardize the safety of FBI personnel. Oh my God, man. Come on. There are 2 major positions and career tracks that happen within the FBI. I'll give a third honorable mention. The first one is the special agent track. Some of you are familiar with that job. That's the operational wing of the FBI. The second is the analytical track, and that's going to be the intelligence analyst. That's what our friend George did. He was a supervisor in that field. And I will give an honorable mention to what's called the squad operations specialist or the staff operations specialist, the SOS position, which is what is an embedded sort of tactical thing. They directly feed information into the agents to do their job. What this guy is doing, what this guy is talking about, operations technician. You know what else we call electronics technicians? Those are the people that make sure that our wired radios are working in our car. Okay? ETs. We also have another one that are called automotive technicians. You'll be shocked to know that they work on our vehicles, but not on anything serious. Okay? Anytime you hear the word technician or analyst in any government agency, you should pretty much be skeptical of it because the word analyst is abused massively. What you're also seeing is his previous experience. I want you guys to do the career track. I told you, he's 42 years old, give or take. At 42 years old, he's my age. In 2017, in August of 2017, I'd been an FBI agent for a little over a year. At that point in time in his career, he was an advanced medical support assistant for the VA. And it says right here, his first job with the VA there, first line responsibilities where he was actually being honest about what he did, assist veterans with scheduling appointments. Number 2, manually checking in patients, schedule follow-up appointments. Do you know the level of skill it takes? At that time, he's 35, 36 years old, same as me. Like I said, I'm getting into a full-blown career track. I've got a year on it. I'm already permanent party with the FBI and off probation. This guy is checking in veterans at a VA hospital. He's a receptionist. You're correct. I saw that in the chat. That's correct. Okay? The receptionist to I'm a secret agent track is a little longer than 2017 to 2023. And as I said, in 2022, this guy was a procurement specialist with the FBI for a couple of months. He worked full-time in San Diego. Do you know how little access people in San Diego would have had to what Alex Jones had going on? And the agents that were suing Alex Jones in Connecticut? They would have none. I'll just tell you up front. Do you know why? Because I was an agent and I was a lot closer during this time. And I had none. Because none of us had any information because we didn't do this. Now, the problem is this. If you really want to believe something, if you were looking at something and going, God, this confirms all of my worst suspicions. Of course, he's talking about undercovers. I worked for the Washington field office. I worked in the counterintelligence and I worked in the surveillance program. I don't know what happened on January 6th. I can guarantee you this guy doesn't know anything about it. 100% guaranteed he doesn't know. No way. Because he wasn't in a position to know. When we evaluate sources, it's very important for us to look. There are 2 things we care about in sourcing: placement and access. Is the person placed in a way that they might find something out? Are they part of an organization? Do they live next door to somebody? And then do they actually have access to it? Do they have access to the information we believe? If we do not talk about these 2 things when we evaluate sourcing, you are going to get honeypotted like this clown. Or honeydicked, which I think is funnier. All right. Here's the dude talking a little further. I think we can go and just play a little bit more of it, but I want you guys to understand none of this information is bona fide. It's not vetted. And here's the saddest thing. I told the guys at Sound Investigations not to run this. I told them not to do it before they ran it. And I told them that I would come out against it because it's garbage. I know they had a lot of money repped into it. I know they probably were raising money on it. They got millions of views. It's dog shit reporting.
Employers' involvement with political commentator Alex Jones's legal battles.
As long as the Bureau is able to progress far enough to be able to put pro-lifers in jail whenever they want.
Yeah.
You think that's on the agenda?
You can kind of put anyone in jail if you know what to do.
How?
You set them up. You create the situation to where they have no choice but to act on their impulse. And once they act on that impulse, then we call that entrapment. It's a fine line.
Does the Bureau practice entrapment a lot?
We get really close.
Not officially?
No. We get as close as we can. We get as close as we can to it without doing it.
So they can entrap some of these pro-lifers into doing things that they don't...
Depending, yeah. We call it a nudge.
There's no such thing as a nudge. We don't call it a nudge. I've never heard anyone use the term nudge. I worked in the FBI for 6 years. I had sources. I worked around people who worked sources. I worked around people who were double agents. All right, they were running double agent ops against threat countries. There's nothing about what this man is saying that is not publicly available information. This is the skepticism you must have. When someone dangles the thing that you want to believe, and this so-called journalist who's on this gay date is just doing the dumbest job. If you are feeding people information and giving them this sort of red meat questions and you don't have any skepticism, wouldn't you just ask a simple question like, hey man, how are you in a position to know this? See, the funny thing is this. My dad and I talked about this the other day about Sheila Jackson Lee. Sheila Jackson Lee says, are you familiar with FBI agents Kyle Seraphin? You'll see how this all comes in. And Chris Ray says, I'm familiar with the name. How come she doesn't say why? Why doesn't she do the follow-up? Why do you know his name? That's what a serious question looks like. Okay, why? You're the FBI director. Why do you know the name of this one guy? Oh, I've been given press clippings about what he's saying in public. Okay, move on. Oh, because my briefing team is really concerned about the things that he's talking about, and we're taking it to heart. Okay, fine. Maybe there's some more follow-ups there. You have to ask intuitive questions that follow along. Most people doing quote-unquote journalism are really bad at this because they've never tried to elicit real information. They're going after targeted information. This journalist guy, is trying to get specific information, very specific information, and wants to get famous with it by getting this gay guy who's chunky and never did any of the work that he's alleging. I'm not going to tell you who I work for, but when I say intelligence, what do you think? CIA, that's it. I work for the CIA. Congratulations. Look how excited you are. I'm Jason Bourne. It's gross, man. It's really bad. This is bad, bad, bad. And everybody's running deep with it. Alex Jones actually wrote a comment back because I said, what is a contracting officer? What do they have to do with anything? The thing that we fail to have are people in the journalistic sphere that understand anything about how our federal government works and what those positions are. If you don't know that a contracts officer has no ability to see ops, at least not in a big way, then you're going to mistake it. Here's the guy that they should have been going after. And this is the kind of person that you would employ. The person that you would employ is what the CIA calls a targeting officer. A targeting officer, I'm going to actually play you the recruitment video of what a targeting officer is. The targeting officer's job is setting up who your targets are. Unfortunately, Sound Investigations and Project Veritas is very good at doing the same thing before they got disbanded. They also failed at having a targeting officer. They targeted targets of opportunity. Oftentimes, those were junk. They didn't have access or placement, but they didn't know how to evaluate that. That's what this job does. The CIA actually employs people full-time to do this. Targeting officers give you a target package, why and where to get the information, and they have to actually figure out, is this person in a place? Do they actually have the information that I might need? And then you do a go, no go based on whether they have it later. The second thing is the FBI actually does this too. They bring on SOSs and intelligence analysts, and they do what are called Type 5 assessments, where they literally take a pool of names and say, are any of these people going to be in a place where they can get the information, and do they have access to the stuff we want to know? Are they worth our effort to recruit? Let's evaluate them. Let's put them on a graph. Let's put them on a board, which you'll see this guy doing. There's some fake graphics here because it's Hollywooded up. But the funny thing is There is a process for finding out whether your target is of value, and it's called targeting. Not targeted individuals, you goofballs that watch this and get all upset about it. Targeting is finding out whether this person has the thing that you want. Okay? Here's the CIA telling you, like in plain words.
I'm just back from a meeting with our nation's national security staff regarding a new intelligence collection requirement. While my team was confident that we could acquire information from existing sources, we also knew we'd need new sources to complete the picture. That's where I come in. I'm a targeting officer. My job is to figure out where we can get information our nation needs. The more potential sources I can identify, the better the chances are that operations officers can successfully complete our mission. Being a targeting officer is a tremendous challenge. You have to be part detective, part analyst, and part data scientist. You need to be a creative, critical thinker who loves to dig for information. I guess as much as anything, I'm a problem solver and not easily frustrated. After all, my country is looking to me to find ways to get access to information it needs, but can't get any other way. The information is almost always out there. I just have to find it. My job as a targeting officer gives me a seat at the table and a voice in operations. I work mostly from CIA headquarters in Washington, D.C., but I have opportunities to travel abroad. That's the perfect mix for me. If research is your passion, apply your skills to clandestine operations and discover the truth for our nation. Become a targeting officer.
At the end of that video, what you saw was the logo for the Directorate of Operations. The CIA has many different directorates. I want you guys to actually look at what you're seeing on the screen right now. What you're seeing on the screen is something quite simple. It's something we should be evaluating. It's his previous job, which said that he worked for the Department of Homeland Security as an immigrations analyst of some kind. That's a GS-9 to GS-12 position. That's the same that you'd find for an SOS, a tactical embedded operation type analyst at the FBI. It starts off low. You can get into it right away and get paid better if you have a master's degree. So this guy has an MBA. Maybe he gets into a GS-9, GS-10, GS-11 job. None of this stuff is operational. And being a Homeland Security analyst, an immigrations analyst, you're going to conduct studies, plan, and various management programs that directly impact the service center operations in this case. None of this stuff is you doing field work or setting up people or going after Alex Jones or seeing who's going to be in the crowd on January 6th. This is all bullshit. There's no other way to say it. It's complete garbage. I wanted to show you these different directorates. This is from the CIA's public website. This is not secret information. Directorate of Analysis, that's the analytical end. Directorate of Operations, that's the kinetic end of the CIA. The Directorate of Science and Technology. The Bureau has similar versions of these, by the way. Science and Technology is where they're doing research and working on, deciding what it is that they're going to spend their money on. Digital Innovation, fine. Directorate of Support is where this man worked most likely. The Directorate of Support. They have vast different careers that enable the CIA's mission. I'm not going to discount the fact that you need support people, but if you are doing contracts work as an entry-level contracts officer, there is nothing that suggests that you would know anything about what the CIA's targeting packages look like in a completely different directorate. They would come to you and say, hey, we need you to buy this software, and it needs to have the following parameters, and it needs to have the following safety protocols, and we need to make sure that it fits this. This is our request for quote. This is what we want to send out to bid. And then they'll go do that. That's the job that he had. None of that is human intelligence or signals intelligence or interception or planning or operations or anything along those lines. This is the accounts payable department. And maybe the accounts receivable department. Mostly the government just pays stuff, right? Unless they're coming after one of the suspendables and they're putting something on our credit record. This is very sad, because we're so excited about seeing something that confirms our suspicions that we go into that confirmation bias insanity and we stop thinking. A lot of people turned off their brains. Alex Jones is one of them. I actually privately shared with guys like Owen Schroyer. I'm like, look, man, we've got to be in the business of sussing out truth and the things that seem the most helpful to us, that we are most excited about knowing. We're like, this confirms everything. That's the thing you should be the most skeptical on, not diving on top of it. This is the Bongino rule in effect. There's a reason why Dan is good with this stuff. He also worked in the government, and he knows that somebody who claims to be a contracting officer doesn't mean they're taking out hits on people in Western Europe. That's not what a contracts officer does. This is a fat, sad, lonely man who probably found a friend on Grindr who got targeted by some weakly, not scrupulous, not critical thinking journalist. I'll put that in air quotes too, journalist. The sad thing is Sound Investigations did a really good work going after the Pornhub folks. That was targeted. They went after people who had placement and access, CEOs and C-level employees, senior programmers, people that had been with the company since the beginning. That's how you do that. You find out the right target. Their targeting was correct. In this case, they struck out. This was Grindr journalism, which I was told by somebody from formerly at Project Veritas that that's a real term that they used to use. Grindr journalism sucks. It's weak, and it's poorly targeted. I want to give you another little example of somebody. This is Mia Parker. She has a video on the FBI. I looked out because the word analyst is abused all the time. The word analyst at the FBI is abused. They use this whole thing that's called MAPA, Management and Program Analysts. And oftentimes they have no analytical experience and they don't do anything analytical. They're not analysts. They use this word very freely. So if you don't do government speak, there's a reason why I've made myself, and I know Steve and Garrett and George have made ourselves free resources for journalists. People can reach out to us and I'm going to encourage them. Come to us and ask us what you have. I will not reveal your source and I will not steal your story. I don't care. I care about the truth. And not getting waylaid by this garbage, because this is going to be an entire news cycle of stupidity that we're going to have to work our way through. Look at this lady. By the way, this girl, she got hired on as an honors intern, and then she didn't get hired on as an actual analyst or an agent, the two major career paths. She went into a MAPA because she probably didn't actually have the credentials to be hired in the first place. She's been with the Bureau for over 13 years, for whatever it's worth. This is Mia Parker talking about being a MAPA.
My name is Mia Parker, and I'm a Management and Program Analyst in the Cyber Division. I actually joined the FBI during an internship the summer between my junior and senior years, and it changed my life. I never thought before doing my internship that I'd want to work for the FBI, but I fell in love with the people that summer. I love everything about being a MAPA. I'm a very creative, driven person, and I really like that our position offers us the flexibility to find programmatic or procedural deficiencies and implement solutions. When I go out and talk to people, I like to describe our position as water. Whatever mold you pour us into, we adapt quickly and we fill the gap.
She's Bruce Lee. She's water. I didn't want to keep going with that, just so you know. I actually have the whole video is only like 2 minutes. At one point she says, we have to realize that our mission has shifted since 1908 and criminals are not the same. She doesn't do anything related to criminal prosecutions or criminal investigation. She's a MAPA. She does government buzzword nonsense. She got hired when she was a junior in high school. She got a top secret clearance, which made her move directly to the top of the pile. And then she was hired in a full-time gig and never did the thing that the FBI does. The full-time thing the FBI does is intelligence and criminal investigations. You have to be one of those two if you want to be in the serious thing. She can't go on and be a senior executive at this point. They've even opened it up to intel people, which I have a problem with, but so be it. None of these things mean that she knows what's going on. And she's basically been in a culture for 14 years full of buzzwords that say that she doesn't do anything of value, but she's going to explain it to you in highfalutin terms that come out of a business school. Sorry. Should have never been hired. If you didn't come into one of these to do that job, why are we hiring you as an honors intern if you're not actually going to do the mission of the FBI? So I just want you to know that's a MAPA. That person has the term analyst and doesn't do anything analytical. She works for the cybercrimes group and she's never seen a criminal. She doesn't do anything related to their investigations. She works at headquarters. There's a million of them. They just are useless. You could get rid of all of them. By the way, they do get rid of all of them. Whenever there's a government shutdown, these people are considered non-essential personnel. They don't come to work. They still get paid, but they don't come to work and nothing changes in the mission. You could go without them. Honestly, if you had agents going out, like every time I needed to do anything, I did it all myself. It's like, oh, do you need business cards? Yeah, go on the website, go and order them up, go and pay them with your own credit card, then submit them to some idiot, some finance technician who's going to screw it up and pay your friend instead. Then your friend will write you a check for the amount that you need, and then you'll have the money that is reimbursed you for your business cards that the government should have paid for in the first place. Okay, fine. I used to say that every single thing that happened at the FBI, which happens all the time, every single thing that happens, like you're a new employee in this office, we've never had a new employee before. Oh, you're being onboarded and we're doing an orientation. We've never done this before. They make it up every single time. The FBI is full of inadequate people that have memories like goldfish. They'll do something the day before, they'll go to sleep, they'll brain dump everything they've ever done, they'll wake up in the morning and you have to teach them the task again. And those people get advanced. So that's why our government is so jacked up. I tell you, it's so stupid because the dumbest people there, just absolute midwits. I think I said 40% of the government is midwits. And then somebody was like, well, 80% of the SES are actually also really dumb and have no experience. 40% are midwits. 40% are dimwits. 20% of all the support employees in the government are probably getting it done. Anyway, technician, analyst, be very skeptical of those terms when you're seeing this stuff. I don't want to live on it too much longer, but it's really dumb because right now there are people that are dying in Gaza, and we have to know that it's okay as long as there are people dying in Gaza that you can invade the Congress and shut things down. Before we get to that, let's just plug our folks that we're working with here. Matt had jerky. I see you guys are starting to order it. I'm telling you, somebody was like, I don't like jerky. It's like leather. As a guy who's chewed on actual leather, let me just tell you, matthatjerky.com/Kyle. Go get the USDA Prime cut. They have a 6-pack of it that you'll see pop on the screen here in a second. That is incredibly tender stuff. It actually doesn't taste like leather. It's not chewy in a way that's uncomfortable. It's just really good. It's a great snack. I've got some in the mail coming my way, and I'm looking forward to it. I'll show you guys when I get it. But check out that. The garlic, I think it's called garlic and the black truffle are my two favorite. Absolutely. Go to matthatjerky.com. There's the link in the show description. Promo code Kyle saves you 20%. That's cool. We catch a cut as well. So you're supporting a good company, 18-year-old kid who's actually doing work, who's actually paying taxes, has 20 employees. Cool story, cool company, tasty snack, healthy, high protein. Check them out. And then the same story, the promo code Kyle over at mypillow.com. You can go to mypillow.com/Kyle, and that will give you an 800 number you can call for those of you that do that sort of thing. But if you're looking for bedding, if you're looking for slippers, if you're looking for the robes or any of the kind of things that they're doing, and you know, Mike Lindell's been under fire. He's digging out from a lot of problems and seems like a really decent guy every time I've talked to him. Their company, mypillow.com/Kyle, is also an affiliate for us. The promo code Kyle will save you up to 50% on any of the things on the website. So you can go do that. Our promo code is always the same. It's KYLE. And these links are always in the show notes, whether you're listening on the audio or whether you're watching on one of the videos. I include them down. So just scroll past the description and you'll see a whole list of the things of the people that support us so that we can bring this program to you for free. By the way, that's the other funny thing. I had somebody yelling at me about being a grifter. It's like, dude, don't buy it if you can't afford it. I don't want you to spend money you don't have. And more importantly, I don't charge anything. You can come watch the show. There's no paywall here. You see the whole thing. It's not shut down. In any case, remember, as long as there's people dying in Gaza, as long as the infringed group is being hurt, then you can do anything you want, including January 6th style insurrections, walking through the Capitol building. Here's a couple of videos of people you might as well know they're out there marching around. Just to compare this and contrast to what happened on January 6th and the people. I will not expect to see the FBI showing up outside the door of these people, and their songs they're kind of catchy.
People are dying in Gaza. People are dying in Gaza. People are dying. Stop the genocide and the war. Stop the genocide and the war.
Stop the genocide and war. Can you stop the genocide and war? I think there's something there. I think they've got it. They're going to need an arrangement beyond on the back end of it to really get that going. But I think we could get this to be the song of our generation, the Stop the Genocide and War. We're all against genocide and war, I think. Why are these guys allowed to walk through the Capitol like that? I also had this very bad misfortune of sitting through a Jake Lang podcast. If you guys actually want to hear one of the wildest con artist takes that I've ever been part of, I listened to about 80 minutes from The George Show. He's also on Rumble. You guys can check him out. TGS, The George Show. And he did a call-in program with Jake Lang. A lot of people have done it. He's been on Ban and he's been on a bunch of stuff. Jake Lang is a fraud. You can just listen to him. Listen to how many patriotic heartstrings he's going to pull on. He pulls on all of them. He's really good at mixing in things that have nothing to do. The guy aligned himself. He's an asshole who had a baseball bat that was hitting cops on January 6th, that was voluntarily going into a place where the cops had their back to the wall in a tunnel, were holding a line, and they were pushing their way into it like complete morons. And rather than lead people with his strong voice that he was talking about and how he was this like leader like George Washington, good God, he did say that. Rather than lead people away from the place where they were getting hit with all of the tear gas and whether they were getting hit with with the rubber bullets and all the other less than lethal munitions, I can tell you that Capitol Police is incompetent. That's easy. But if you're out there swinging a baseball bat at the heads of people that are not physically engaging you, that you are pushing up so that you can get a swing at them because you're looking for violence on that day, you should be in jail. He's going to do at least 10 years. There's no question in my mind. I just wanted to play you what this guy thought about when he got out of the January 6th thing. And he described it, well, I was really high on adrenaline. Really? You were really high on adrenaline? You just admitted to felonies. And that felony is the felony assault on a federal agent or officer with a deadly weapon. It holds up to a 20-year penalty. This dude is going to do some real time. That's why he's hanging out in jail in pretrial release, because it doesn't matter. He's got 3 years of his sentence knocked out. He's going to probably do at least 10, and he might do more, depending on all these interviews he's doing. I just want to play you what this guy sounded like on the night of. This is the night of January 6th. This is after they got out of there. He's still got tear gas in his eyes, whatever. We'll just play it for you if you want to get a taste of what it's about. By the way, I don't necessarily think this guy's a Fed per se. I think he's dealing with basic level corruptions that happen. This is what happens when you're hanging out in jail. Like, there's all kinds of money and transactions and favors. It's really sad. Our system is bad. So I can agree to all these things. I can hold contrasting ideas in my head at once. But this guy belongs in jail. This is where he belongs. Listen to this idiot.
You need water?
Yeah, we need water. We need water.
You go back in there?
We need Maalox, if anybody has.
What do you need?
Maalox.
No. Can you just give me a brief of what happened, man?
One round's good, but maybe.
Oh, I had a steel baseball bat, fucking swinging for the stars.
Bro, can you give me? Do you know his name?
He's a fucking hero. Yeah.
Did the right thing.
He's a fucking hero.
My name's real Jake Lang.
Say it again. Jake Lang.
Jakelang.
Where are you at online?
On Instagram, Facebook. I got 32,000 on Instagram. Patriot. I own libertycentric.com. It's like Parler, but it's like an Instagram version. We give you freedom of speech, and we fight the fuck for your rights.
Absolutely. Can you give me a brief what happened to you?
No, it'll reactivate it.
Okay. Don't do that.
I just got out of the fucking pain zone.
Hey, partner.
Yeah.
Just scoot over so I get some.
I ran out of neutralizer. We climbed up the scaffolding, and we got on that main area, then we pushed him back, and we charged the front. There's a double door, like hallway, and so we broke the glass up, pulled the double doors, reached around in, pulled it open, and then it was like the movie 300 Spartans. It was fucking a line of 5 guys, fucking police officers, 5 of us, heaving, hoeing. People were almost dying in between all the heat. You know, everyone is 2 forces just pushing on each other. That lasted about an hour or 2. Then they started fucking hitting us with batons in the face, rubber bullet in the foot, the real strong pepper spray. It's been 30 minutes, I can't open my eyes. And we started bringing out the fucking metal rods and everything on these motherfuckers.
Amen. Yeah! My Patriot, Rio Jake Lane.
There you go. That's Jake Lang admitting 2 felonies. We brought out the steel rods and we went after him. That's the dumbest thing you could do. And now the reason that he's doing all of the interviews he's doing is because he can't get any dumber than what he said on the day of. There was tons of video out there showing he's reaching over the top of a police line and swinging a baseball bat at the heads of people that he could have retreated from and didn't need to be there. He just said that they charged the line on purpose, that they broke into the building, all the dumb stuff that he just admitted to. There are multiple felonies in there and felony assaults on officers. I'm pretty confident they can charge every single individual officer's assault. That guy is either, somebody said he's high on amphetamines. I saw a couple of you guys say drugs. That could also be adrenaline because he was just out of a big fight and he was probably dehydrated and clearly was amped up about it. All of that doesn't matter. The fact is, he admitted to the felonies in his own voice. He's got several other videos that are out there doing this kind of information. You should not be giving money to this guy. He claimed last night that he had $1.2 million in fundraising, and then he showed text messages showing that they'd given it to people. That's not how accounting works either. We need to be skeptical of people, even the people that we want to believe. You guys should be skeptical of me. You should be skeptical of Dan. You should be skeptical of Tucker. You should be skeptical of all the voices that are saying the things you want to hear. Same with Alex Jones or anybody else. There's a reason why we play stuff from the leftist media and we always show you that they're full of shit because this is propaganda. This is how propaganda works. We tell you something that you want to believe, that you're inclined to believe in a way that you're going to believe it. Does that make sense? Here's NPR. This is the last thing. This guy, I don't know if they called him like a whistleblower, but it's not. This is from the Free Press, which you can find at thefp.com. I've been at NPR for 25 years. Here's how we lost America's trust. So this actually looks like an op too, to me. This is a guy saying, hey, we're trying to rebuild our audience because our audience is all lefty loonies. He goes on talking about, here's the stereotypical NPR listener. It's an EV driving an electronic vehicle or electric vehicle, a Wordle playing, tote bag carrying coastal elite. And this writer, Yuri Berliner, says, I was raised by a lesbian peace activist mom. I drive a Subaru, and Spotify says my listening habits are most similar to those people. In Berkeley, I'm an NPR listener. Listen, NPR is big on trying to make you believe that every single person is a tranny or waiting to be a tranny or they're gay. Like, that's NPR's crazy worldview. It didn't used to be like that. My dad and I used to listen to NPR. They had cool little musical segments. They were doing real decent radio. It was kind of fun to listen to it. You'd go like, oh, okay, that's a different perspective. Like, yeah, they would cover stories that nobody else did, right? This was the value of NPR in the 80s and the 90s, probably going back in the 70s. The problem is it's government sponsored and it leans towards a place where they basically lost their ever-loving minds after Donald Trump came into office. In this article, unfortunately, like many things, the rise of advocacy took place after Donald Trump. In many newsrooms, his election in 2016 was greeted at NPR with a mix of disbelief, anger, and despair. Just to note, I eagerly voted against Trump twice, but felt obligated to cover him fairly. What began as a tough, straightforward coverage of a belligerent, truth-impaired president veered off towards the damage or to try to topple Trump's presidency. There was a resistance attitude towards everybody that didn't agree with him. They all lost their ever-loving minds. And then they did it basically by bringing on and platforming this guy, Adam Schiff, who was Trump's most visible antagonist. What a weak, pathetic antagonist. But he was saying all the things the political left wanted to hear, and he was always citing the same thing as the gay guy did in that video. Secret sources. I can't tell you, but just trust me, bro. I know. This is not acceptable. If I can't tell you, I will tell you why I can't tell you, because I'm either saving somebody or we're holding on to it for later. That's my pledge. Because I don't trust anybody, and neither should you. Anyway, they had upwards of 25 interviews of Adam Schiff about Donald Trump and Russia and those conversations. He alluded to purported evidence of collusion, which isn't a crime, by the way. And then he began running those talking points. They became the drumbeat of the NPR news reports. Then Mueller came out with no evidence of collusion that he could actually substantiate. And suddenly they were silent. Russiagate faded away because it was all bullshit. Bullshit fades away. The problem with this reporting of this dude, this gay guy who claims to be a CIA, FBI person that knows things that he doesn't have the position, he doesn't have he doesn't have the placement or the access to know. The problem with that is that all the people on the political left that are looking for an error, a weakness, a chink in the armor, the fact that you're willing to jump on top of things that are false, they are going to use it to hammer you in the same way that we hammer them with the Russiagate thing. You guys get that this plays both ways. You've got to be a fair operator on this stuff. It's totally doable. It's not that hard. You just have to be honest and say, I'm going to start from the position of, whatever I want to believe, I'm going to try to disprove it. If you can't, so be it. Then it's more likely true than not. You don't have to go out there and try to get evidence the same way that somebody would in a courtroom, but you should evaluate things critically. And you should look for the exculpatory information that disproves the thing that you think is probably true. And then evaluate the sourcing on that. Is that good sourcing? I'm trying to teach people how to think in a way that is analytical, that is apparently lacking. And watching what happened on social media tells us how bad it is. God, one of you just brought up Kara Castronova. She's lazy, she's stupid, and she doesn't do good journalism. She's an advocate on behalf of the things that she feels because she's a female who doesn't have a lot of analytical skills. I don't take her phone calls anymore. She used to try and call me every time we would do an interview with her. I don't know why I brought this up, but look, this is a great example. Gateway Pundit is full of trash reporting because they go out there and they affirm their own feelings. They have a lot of like pretty ladies that do the honeypot journalism. They get a bunch of dudes with some blood leaving their brain going somewhere else, and then they just say things that they can't substantiate. It's garbage. Okay? This is not the way that we do this stuff. This is not how you get truth with a capital T out there. I don't have it, but I'm trying to approximate it every single day. I'm trying to get closer to that information. All right. You guys want to do something for good people that are out there? My buddies were at the Heritage Foundation Summit yesterday talking about their maltreatment. You can support the Boyle family by going to the-suspendables.com. Again, the promo code there is Kyle. I'm wearing the PT shirt today. We agreed that this is our favorite one in gray and in OD green, and even in all black on black. Our favorite is the PT shirt. It says Suspendables in stenciled letters on the back. It's got the badge on the front. This is the sort of quintessential suspendable t-shirt, the-suspendables.com. And the other one is the one you see over here on my shoulder, which is showing you that the gun, the AR-15 with the inkwell at the end of it, because the pen is mightier than the sword, except when the sword is mightier than the pen. There are times for both. Just like the Bible tells us, there is a time for all things. This is one of the things I love that Garrett came up with, that the quill is oftentimes more powerful. It really is, because we're out there trying to get to truth, and truth can stop things like violence regularly. Go to the-suspendables.com. Promo code Kyle will save you, I think, 10%. It's just our little thank you to track where this thing comes from, so we know it's not coming from the Glenn Beck Show. But check out the Suspendables merch and gear, and then pretty soon you'll be able to see that at Patriot Coolers as well. A last little thanks to my friends over at Catholic Vote, because they are doing this. There's a really good video they put out yesterday, and I think they've put it out before. You can check out their Edify. It's spelled E-D-I. F-Y, E-D-I-F-Y. It's very simple. Edify. It's a lot like PragerU. Some of you guys saw this. We talked about how religion is a problem for progressive leftists, and that leftism is the religion of the left. It's the religion of the state, and they are actually trying to push forward certain things that substantiate their religion. If you guys want to see that, you can go and check out the handle. It's on my timeline as well, but it's at Catholic Vote, and you can find them on YouTube at Edify. Edify is very short form, little sort of Catholic messages. They're going to be broadly Christian and interesting to you, worth checking into. Again, Edify and my friends over at CatholicVote.org, where you can get the loop, which doesn't have a ton of spin. It gives you stories. You can pick through them and you'll understand what their lean is, that they're Catholic, right? And they care about Christianity. But they at least tell you that up front. Same way that NPR tells you that they're full of trannies. I mean, I don't go to NPR and think that I'm getting something I'm not. In any case, folks, we really appreciate you guys listening to all of this stuff. I told you that I had a joke for you. Let me do a 5-star review, then we'll walk out with a joke. How about this? 5-star review, very short, Shine a Light 21. May have played this one before, but sure enough, Truth Bombardier, 5 stars, Truth Bombs dropping on every show. Go Kyle, and thank you. The Truth Bombs, I'm actually not dropping them. I'm actually arming you with them. You can go out there with these techniques and you can actually find the truth yourself. You have to be skeptical. That's how we do it. Let's play a fun joke. This is how we know the liberal left is full of nuts. And you just want to turn around and play it right back at them. This is a super fun little take. You remember Lizzo, whatever her name was, the heavyset gal that was out there performing for all the rich people that raised money for Biden? This guy has a great take on it. And also our friend Dylan Mulvaney. Don't we love Dylan? I know he's over on YouTube, so we can't say mean things about other YouTubers, but we can say that if you're a woman, you're beautiful, like Dylan Mulvaney. Is that weird?
One of my favorite jokes from a comic right now is Jeff.
Really?
Yeah. If Lizzo is so pretty, why do women get mad when I say you look like Lizzo?
Yeah.
That's a checkmate.
I tell skinny chicks now, like these like wokey kind of like skinny white chicks, I go, oh my gosh, you look very pretty. And like, thank you. I was like, you look like Dylan Mulvaney. And they're like, I was like, well, what? We're all playing along that she's a gorgeous woman and Lizzo's a big, beautiful lady.
They just go to you know what we mean.
Yeah. Turns out you're all full of shit.
Yeah.
There it is. The message of the day. That's what Grindr journalism is. That's the Golden Hour podcast if you guys want to check out. Sometimes we got to just break it down and get some comedy. I do that too. I listen to Adam Carolla's show if I want to just turn my brain off for a little bit and have somebody who's clever, intelligent, generally has my values, and has a sense of humor about it, because God knows. We need it. I need it after this one today. Folks, we'll see you again tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful day on this weird Wednesday. It is a weird Wednesday. Go out there and combat the nonsense with some truth. It's available. All you got to do is be a skeptic. And we'll see you again real soon. God bless you. See you tomorrow morning.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram at Kyle Seraphin.